Let my parents be free with everybody else, please.
Donald Trump's administration have lost the parents of 545 children they abducted at the border and caged. The Trump administration do not know where they are. In 2018, the Trump administration instituted a zero-tolerance policy that separated migrant children and their parents at the border. They took these parents' children away right in front of them as the children cried and begged to stay with their parents.
And they said, oh, what about the children? They were separated. Give me a break.
Hundreds of parents were deported to Central America without their children. And this is where Donald Trump has put the children.
And when we walked in there, we just saw people, it's like crying. We saw little kids crying.
None of us would have our children in that position. They are human beings.
As you watch this, more than 500 families have still not been reunited. As you watch this, thousands of kids cry themselves to sleep every night, wondering if they will ever see their parents again. And the parents are trapped thousands of miles away, not able to sleep at all because of the nightmares they have about the physical and sexual abuse their children are experiencing. The architect of this horror was Stephen Miller, seen here flashing a white power sign from inside the White House press briefing room.
This is Stephen Miller's attempt to widen the United States.
He created this myth that these parents really didn't lose their children, that the children were the product of dark cartels and human traffickers. Why would the children be crying to stay with them? It doesn't make any sense, but they sold this lie to Trump's base, and it has been repeated for years, while these children sit in cages. That's their life. That's their childhood. If you don't have a bright line for crime against children, you don't have a line.
It's not the deed that you do to a child, it's the memory.
If you watch this and still support Donald Trump, you don't have a soul either.
Yeah, 525 kids not knowing where in God's name they're going to be and lost their parents.
Go ahead.
Shalom, Ka'ala Yahweh, Ba'Shem Yashaya, Ba'Shem Rakal Kodash. Double honors my teachers, the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and mercy to the elect, for the house of David reborn again in this generation. And shalom to the 130 Yashara, who today are known as the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, who before losing our true heritage, we were known as, and still are, the true Hebrew Israelites of the Holy Bible. In today's lesson, we're going to talk about just some of the cruelty that the so-called Caucasian, or biblically known as the Edomites, have done to the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, who biblically are known as the Israelites of the Holy Bible. Right? So you just seen that video, which kind of surmised the Trump organization, right? The King of Edom at the time, policy to basically punish the tribe of Issachar, right? The northern kingdom, right? The so-called Latinos and Native Indians, okay? And what you're looking at now is an example, right? An example of what he did to the tribe of Judah, okay? He had human zoos, right? Look at this. This is the tribe of Ephraim, right? When we were in our native state, right? While Esau is over here looking in on us as a form of enjoyment. Right? Here you got Judah, I believe, right, looking like savages and loincloths and everything, with Esau in the back, you know, trying to show that he's superior. Right? This is Isaiah 42 and 22. But this is a people robbed and spoiled. They are all of them snared in holes, and they are hid in prison houses. They are for a prey, and none deliver it, for a spoil, and none saith restored. This is referring to the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, and anybody whose lineage goes back to that bloodline, right? Their lineage of their father, that is, right? Because you see, us Israelites, we are currently under a curse. The curse of Deuteronomy 28, verse 15 on down, because we foolishly let off from following the Lord as we had made a covenant that we would. And because of that, we are now paying for our mistakes. But the good news, the gospel, is that the Lord, He has forgiven us. Right? He has forgiven us because of the deeds of the Messiah, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, whose true Hebrew name is Yashaya, which is Hebrew for He is salvation. Right? Because of the Messiah, the Lord has now forgiven and called back the Israelites, the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. Right? But that still is going to be a ways off, because we still have to go through some of the prophecies that have been spoken about in the Bible, things like Jacob's trouble, right? And then the separating of the wheat and the tares, the goats and the sheep, the 1/3 from the 2/3, right? The Israelites from the other nations, which look like Israelites, right? Because again, remember, there's going to be a lot of so-called Negroes that are going to, when their father's lineage is searched out, it's going to go back to another heathen nation, right? A so-called white person, so-called Asian, and etc. Right? But they're not going to be Israelites. They're going to be referred to, or they're going to basically be terrorists, right? Same thing with the so-called Latinos, so-called Native Americans. There's going to be many Israelites who you would believe are so-called Negro, Latino, Native Americans, but in fact their father's lineage is an Edomite. Okay? I myself at work was surprised by one of my coworkers. Right, he looks full on Jake. Right, looks kind of like Bob Marley, but his father is from Sweden, right, so-called Edomite, and his mom's a Judite. Right, and I was surprised by this. Right? But hey, it is what it is. But that being said, you see how the Lord describes us here, that we are all robbed and spoiled, right? We have been snared in holes. And this isn't just talking about physical holes. This is talking about little traps that get set up for us every which way, right? The Trump administration, for example, set up a trap, a hole for these immigrants to fall into, man. Right? And look at Trump's fucking bitch wife, right? Talking about, give me a break. Referring to, what about the kids? Man, see, the Lord is going to repay these devils for their callousness and their wickedness. This is Nahum 3 and 5. Behold, I am against thee, saith Yahweh Bashem Yashaya of hosts. I will discover thy skirts upon thy face, and I will show the nations thy nakedness, and the kingdom thy shame. Now this is addressed to the nation of Edom, the so-called Caucasian race, or so-called white man's race, right? Because you see, the so-called Caucasian that's not their true name. Their true biblical name is the nation of Edom, right? They are Edomites, or the descendants of Esau. Okay, it doesn't matter where the Caucasian lives, where they reside at, where they were born, or where they were buried, right? If they come from the seed line of Esau, right, they would be a so-called Caucasian, right, or a white person, right? They are Edomites, right? And this scripture is referred to them, okay? The Lord, right now, like I just said, the Lord is showing the world the shame of the so-called white man, right? His nakedness, right? And showing all the world his shame, right? This is, why do you think there's so many pedophiles being, caught on video trying to meet up with little boys, or you're hearing about all these, sex trafficking organizations that are being caught? Ghislaine Maxwell, Jeffrey Epstein, right? Things like the corruption in the economy, the food system, the environment, politics, right? The gaming, the sports world, the entertainment world, the all these things, the music system, everything is corrupted, and the world is seeing what's all behind it, right? And what is all behind it? It's all the will of these Edomites, right? It's their wickedness being pushed forward to the world, right? But we understand what's going on, right? Because you see, just like the Lord is the power behind the Negro, Latino, Native Americans, the Israelites, the power behind the so-called Caucasians, the Edomites, is that of Satan, right? You see, Satan rules this world, right? This is his world, and he has his own people who he has chosen to run it, and that being the Edomites. Now again, when you get back to Genesis 25, you can read about how Esau, the progenitor of these Edomites, he was blessed by his father, right? Jacob, Israel, right? He was said that he would be given the fat of the earth, and that he would, live by his sword, but basically that he would have the best of everything, and he would have dominion over the world. Well, this is what's going on, and these devils, now that they have the reins of the world, now we can see what happens when wickedness fully rules the world, right? You have shit like children being taken from their parents and go missing because, these devils are in power, right? You have human zoos, be something that existed because these devils thought that was a good idea, right? And not only that, but when you get into the harsh history of the Edomites, what they've done, for example, here to the tribe of Judah, these are just some of the atrocities that took place during the North Atlantic slave trade, man. The Southern Kingdom got jacked up, but again, this doesn't stop there, right? This is all at the hands of these Edomites, right? When you get into the tribe, the Northern Kingdom, right? When you look at the so-called Latinos, this is just some of the atrocities that they've gone through, modern day, and back in when their slavery started back in the 1500s, right? These were just some of the wickedness that these Edomites were all behind, right? And again, and it doesn't stop there, but wait, there's more, right? Here's just some more atrocities from the tribe of Gad, the so-called Native American Indian, right? Who are also Israelites, right? And again, the perpetrators of this, right? The wicked orchestrators of this snare, of this hole, is that of the Edomites. These are the workings of the so-called white race, right? And this is what the Lord is lifting the skirt up upon, man. All the wickedness, all the misdeeds and the missteps that these Edomites thought at what time was theirs by divine right, right? Because again, remember they used to say that it was divine, what did they call it? Manifest destiny, right? They said it was manifest destiny that they take the land from the Indians and that they conquer and control the world, right? But this is manifest destiny. Let's read it. This is Isaiah 14:13. For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God, right? The stars of God are the Israelites, right? This is addressed to these Edomites. Continuing, I will set also upon the mount of the congregation. I will also sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north, right? Basically, Babylon the Great, America. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High, right? This is Esau and his International Space Station, his satellites, the topmost realms of knowledge and tech that he is the orchestrator of, right? That he has achieved, things that we have no idea that he even possesses, right? That's what this is talking about. Verse 15, yet thou shalt be brought down to hell, right? Destruction, death, right? There's no such thing as hell where there's like underground fire with the guy with a pitchfork. That's made up. Hell is referring to the grave. To the sides of the pit. They that see thee shall narrowly look upon thee and consider thee, saying, is this the man, right? The man that made the earth to tremble, that did shake kingdoms, right? This shows you, man, that this isn't talking about the so-called red devil with horns, and this is talking about a physical people upon the earth today. They made the world as a wilderness and destroyed the cities thereof. open not the house of the prisoners. And who are the prisoners? Well, first and foremost, it's the Israelites. It's us, Negro, Latino, and Native Americans, right? And what does the scripture say? That if a person who has been stolen is found in the hands of their kidnappers, that the kidnappers must be put to death, right? And that's exactly what's happening, man. You see, the Negro, Latino, Native Americans, the nation of Israel, which is who we truly are, the Hebrew Israelites, we are the Lord's bride, right? We are like his woman, right? And what's happened is we've been kidnapped, right? Not only have we been kidnapped, but we've been tortured, destroyed. You've seen examples that I just showed you of what these Edomites have done to us, right? Well, what do you think the Lord is going to do when he comes in and to rescue us, to get his bride back, to get his woman back from the man who kidnapped her, right? The Lord is going to destroy these devils, man. This is Obadiah 1 and 10. For thy violence against thy brother Jacob, right? Jacob referring to the Negro, Latino, Native Americans, the Israelites, Israel, shame shall cover thee, right? Why do these Edomites not want CRT, critical race theory, taught in schools or just even, being spoken about, right? If our children, right, the children of Gad were strong enough to withstand residential schools and being brainwashed to live as a so-called Canadian or American, their kids should be strong enough to hear about what they did to us, right? But no, they don't want to do that. Why? Because shame is covering them, right? They don't want to feel bad about what they did. And thou shalt be cut off forever. And there you go. That right there is manifest destiny returned, right? This is the black horse with the scales, right? Because the scales, it refers to balance, right? You have the slavery, the destruction, the torturing, the destruction of us Israelites having to go into captivity. And what's the balance to that? The balance is these Edomites also going into destruction, right? Being cut off forever, right? Like what does it say in the scriptures? He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. Well, Esau, get ready, man. Right? History will not be kind, but it will be fair and righteous. Until the next time, Makim, hopefully this video was edifying. So I want to give all honor and glory and praises to Yahweh, Ba'Shem Yashaya, Ba'Shem Rupa Dash. Double honors my teachers, the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and mercy to the elect. Shalom.